Hi. So one day when I was leaving class at my old university, I was walking out adjacent to a well-known football player and someone who I had studied with in the class a bit, and he got into his 2015 Porsche, and I got into my car, which is not a 2015 Porsche, and we both drove away. And from there on out that day, I had always have believed that college athletes should get paid. Now, not only for that reason, but for several other very important reasons. One of them is that they make a large time commitment. College athletes make an immense time commitment. We all know that. We all know an athlete. We read about it. We have friends. Another reason is because they risk suffering injuries. This is very common. Now, aside from that, I also believe that bringing pay to college athletes would bring gender equality to the NCAA in a way that we may not really discuss very often. So let's start to talk about the time commitment that these athletes make. Now, we all know that the athletes make very large commitments. According to the NCAA, a D1 college athlete usually commits about 24% of his day to athletics. 24% is a large amount of their day. Now, 25% of their day is dedicated to academics, almost the same amount. So they're receiving this large scholarship to come play at their school, their Division One school, and they have to spend just as much time studying as they have to spend on their sport. Now, I believe that that is a large reason in and of itself. Looking at the same data set, Division Two athletes have to spend 23% on average of their day on their sport commitment. Now, they spend about 26% on academics, almost the same. Now, D1 athletes spend a little bit less time on athletics, but they also don't receive the same scholarship benefits as D1 and D2 athletes. So I guess it kind of makes sense that there'd be a smaller time commitment. They spend about 20% of their day on athletics, with 26% being dedicated to academics. Now, in the same data set from the same players where the time commitment was measured, they asked these players, what do you do in your off season? Where does this time go? And the most of them, the largest majority, had answered work. So the large commitment that they made in their off season was to earn money. So could we not offset this need for work by compensating them for this large time commitment which they already give to us with a monetary compensation? I think that it's very desirable among the players, and I think it's needed. So to transition from there, I'd like to discuss injuries a bit. We all know that college players get injured. I'm sure you all know that. We all know it's prevalent, especially in contact sports, of course. Now, to look at specific numbers, according to the NCAA in a separate data set, from 2004 to 2009, 41,000 football injuries were noted. That is so many injuries. That is such a large commitment that these players are making in the form of just their body. We all know that injuries can stay with us our whole lives if they're not treated correctly, or if we're just not lucky, if they're really bad. Now, 7.1% of those injuries are actually concussions. We know all this information that's coming out now. I mean, we know CTE, which is chronic traumatic encephalopathy, is very bad, and it's something that we're learning about, which is not good. And that's almost 10% of these football related injuries are concussions. That's not good. And that's a large commitment I think that these players are really making. That aside, the most common injury noted in football, in college football, in the same data set is actually leg injuries. And I don't have to lecture to anyone about how bad leg injuries are. They can stay with us our whole lives. They can require surgeries in the future. We all know that these things can stay with us. And I think that monetary compensation is the least we can offer for these players, well-being being sacrificed in some cases. I think that that is an immense risk. Now, the third large reason I believe that college players deserve to be compensated with monetary gains is because they're already receiving money. Now, I think I touched on this a bit in the introduction. These players are receiving gifts. I mean, we all know. I've seen it. Others have seen it. It's noted. Now, according to the NCAA, to look at specific data, since 1953, when they began recording this, 212 infractions have been incurred upon schools, which is a pretty high number considering that this is just what we know about. Obviously, there's many instances we don't know about, so that may not be indicative, but that is still quite a large number that we're looking at when it comes to improper recruiting, receiving cash gifts and items and vehicles. Now, something relating to this is the idea that male players are going to be the ones who are more likely to receive gifts. Now, this is something that I have not been able to find data about. I haven't even found many people writing about this, but in my mind, this is something that is very important because male players in the areas of football and basketball and baseball are generally the most desirable players. These are the players which would be seeing gifts. A male golf player at a school where golf isn't very popular isn't going to likely receive any gifts other than his scholarship. But the football player at the D1 school gets the Ferrari or he gets this cash amount and we never find out about it. Now that is wrong to me because I believe that female players deserve equal compensation. And until we make payment of college athletes legal and something that we accept and regulate and embrace, then we will not see that. The money is always going to be going to the football player, the basketball player, the baseball player, the players that are bringing money into the university, the players who are very desirable. And it doesn't just go for men and women specifically. Also, players deserve money who are male players in less popular sports. So it's very important for us to understand this inequality when it comes to illegal gifts being given. It's not discussed very much, and to me, it's something that should be so obvious. And one of the largest reasons why I think that we need to bring the payment to the college athletes. Now, to sum it all up, we know that these players are getting gifts. We know that they're dedicating large amounts of their time and they really would like to spend a little more time earning money, according to what they've told the NCAA. We know that they're getting injured and, we know that they're getting a lot of concussions and leg injuries most prevalently. We understand that college players are receiving gifts in a quite high number, and it's all going to the male players of football and basketball predominantly. And we'd like to see gender equality. Gender equality is very important. And so these are the reasons that I believe that college athletes deserve to be paid. Thank you.